And you thought biblical counseling wasn't very sophisticated. This is Wretched Radio. Great advancements have been made in biblical counseling as more and more brilliant men and women apply what the Bible teaches to emotional issues. The field of biblical counseling is robust. You might be thinking, oh, they've got some Bible verses they slap on some issues, pat somebody on the head, and send them home. That is not the way biblical counseling works at all. The field has grown in a deeper understanding of the physical, the spiritual, the emotional. That's what the Bible would call most of these issues, versus a mental illness template. We operate with a different paradigm and a different framework. We see issues as a part of the fall, and we recognize because of the fall that it could be that there is something about our body that is causing our spiritual or emotional problem. Dr. Charles Hodges demonstrates just how big biblical counseling has become by identifying some of the physical reasons that you might be, in this instance, feeling the blues.
The first is obstructive sleep apnea and sleep deprivation. I suspect most of you here are working out of sleep deprivation. People who are sleeping less than 8 hours are suffering from sleep deprivation right this minute. And when counselors come in and tell me they're anxious or depressed, what I tell them is, I can't tell you if there is anything wrong with you until you go home and sleep 8 hours a night for 2 weeks. Yes. Obstructive sleep apnea and sleep deprivation from any cause can result in anxiety and depression in people who struggle with it. And in children, obstructive sleep apnea can be a source for the behavior that's called ADHD.
Want me to prove it? That sleep could be affecting your mood? Have you ever been in the room with a naughty child? Well, if you've ever been in a room with a child, they're naughty. And as they have their breakdown, what do most adults say? Somebody needs a nap. And they wake up and suddenly they're a better boy or girl. But apparently at age 14, I think, is what the DSM says, that stops magically, mystically. No, it doesn't. And we need to recognize that even as we counsel people biblically, there can be physical reasons for what you are feeling.
Cushing's disorder, tumors of the adrenal glands and of the pituitary can result in overproduction of steroid. Natural steroid hormones can result in people being anxious, depressed, and irritable. Correction of the overproduction of the steroid results in correction of the emotional problems. Lupus is an autoimmune disorder in which the body's immune system mistakes the body as foreign and sets out to destroy or damage it. And the things that you might see in people who are struggling with that are anxiety and depression. Porphyria is a genetic disorder of the breakdown of the products in red blood cells. And it has with it psychiatric symptoms, which include anxiety, restlessness, agitation, hallucinations, hysteria, disorientation, deliria, and so on. There are medical illnesses which seem to cross over into the mental realm.
And yet we begged the question, can I therefore blame my crabbiness, my anxiety, my lack of trust in God? Can I blame it therefore on my brain or my blood cells or my lack of sleep? And the answer is no. No, you can't, because it only reveals what's there. And while we would say, let's deal with the physical and get you to a medical doc to deal with your physical malady, we still need to address that what we are seeing revealed in your emotions and in your words are issues that are already woven in your heart. And the malady is simply squeezing you and revealing what's there. Therefore, we're going to deal with it medicinally, but we're also going to deal with it spiritually and emotionally. That is how we go about the business of helping people who are struggling, not blaming it on the brain. We just don't have biblical permission to do that.
Schizophrenia. Now, there is a good example. I believe it's a medical disease. It's a great example of a psychiatric disorder that for years has prompted lots of speculation as to its cause. I can also tell you that I almost never teach at a meeting like this without having someone ask me if I believe that schizophrenia is caused by demon possession. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's neither. Neither. There are fascinating things going on in medicine right now that point to schizophrenia being a disorder of our immune system in susceptible patients. And it may have something as well to do with our blood clotting system. And I look at people in the middle of their hallucinations, and I can tell you that I think this is a disease of the brain that has underlying pathology that we are on the threshold of figuring out now.
And we hopefully will. And people could be helped, therefore, medically. But there could still be a sin issue that needs to be dealt with. It's not either or. It can be both and. And that statement should be difficult, actually, for both sides. Those of us who are biblicists, we hear that and it's like, whoa, with the medicine. Hold on. We've got to be willing to take a look at medical data and conclude there can be medicinal reasons for people's emotional issues. And on the other hand, those people who say it's only medicine that cures, we would say, whoa to you. That's not what the Bible teaches.
Polypharmacy is the multiple prescription of medications by multiple physicians to one patient. Often, the physicians don't know what the other physician is prescribing, and all of which have multiple side effects that can affect thinking and emotions and even behavior. Today, when someone comes to my office with new symptoms, my first concern is not about what new disease they have. What I really want to know is what side effects are associated with the disease, with the medicines they're taking. And a lot of times it will be the medicine that they're taking, not a new disease.
Warning, this medication might cause a laundry list of side effects, including, have you heard it? Suicidal ideations, depression. And that can be for stuff that helps you with your achy elbow. What? Yeah, because medicine has side effects to it, and it could be somebody who's struggling with an issue. Perhaps they've taken some sort of psychotropic to help them, and the side effect is causing another issue.
First on the list is post-traumatic stress disorder. The symptoms and problems associated with PTSD are real to the sufferers, as real as the events that caused them. However, without any pathology to demonstrate change in the human brain, the current standard of care is cognitive behavioral therapy and an antidepressant. In my experience, the medicine is probably not a deciding factor to the outcome. Counseling, and I would tell you biblical counseling, family support, a purpose in life to return to. PTSD holds a great opportunity for biblical counseling to help individuals who struggle with the awful memories of war and of other disasters that have happened in their lives.
Come on. Admit it. Biblical counseling. It's gotten awfully smart, hasn't it?
ADHD is widely known and often applied to school-age children, and it's now being applied to adults who have grown up taking Adderall and who wish to continue to take it. I can tell you that our current struggle with the abuse of Vicodin, oxycodone, in our society will pale when compared to the abuse that is going to come with amphetamines, Adderall. My observation about it is that attention span is not an inborn phenomenon. It's learned. You all were trained someplace, probably by parents who took you someplace where you had to sit for an hour or so at a time and listen to somebody who wasn't very interesting. This is not a disease. And it only becomes a problem when we try to force a distractible individual into a situation that they struggle to adapt to.
And isn't that good news? Isn't that great to know that the Bible will help us understand when we just need to become perhaps more disciplined? And believe me, I know whereof what he is speaking, because it's work to concentrate. It's work for some of us to really just hunker down and get her done. But it can be done.
What's medical about OCD? The truly medical part is the way we are made. Some of us are prone to worry. So it's reasonable for us to say that some of us are made with dispositions that make it easier for us to worry. And yes, we can respond to the challenge in a sinful way and make our lives dramatically worse. And I can tell you that I have been regularly counseling with believers who've made great progress in dealing with their fears and their compulsions by choosing to sow to the Spirit instead of the flesh, as Paul says in Galatians 5 and 6. And they can do so by the power of the indwelling Holy Spirit in their lives and the grace that God gives them.
In other words, we can say to people, there's actual hope for you. In conclusion,
Well, I'll leave you with 3 words in a verse. 3 words: never, never, and always. Never call anything a disease that the Bible calls sin. Never call anything sin unless the scriptures do. Always look for pathology. And then remember James 2:12 and 13. Speak and act as those who've been judged by the law that gives freedom. Because judgment without mercy will be shown to those who are not merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment.
encourage you to consider attending the Biblical Counseling Conference hosted by the ACBC. Learn more at biblicalcounseling.com. You can hear the entirety of that presentation and dozens more on Drive By Biblical Counseling 3, because we are thoroughly convinced the Bible can help anybody's emotional issue. Until tomorrow, go serve your King. Pepperoni pizza for Pete, which in an odd way is a lot like the difference between imputation and expiation. Are you familiar with the difference, Pete?
I didn't order a pizza?
But it actually in Latin means completely, to completely atone. It's a Latin word, expiationem, and yet an action noun because it comes from the past participle stem of